The three B's is relevant. Buy, build, and sell. Only three bills. Three B's, right?
Close enough.
Those are my three B's.
That's probably the end
Just like
I don't know, what's the laptop situation? Anyone?
I'll send you an email.
It was given away at once.
Does the wire mic start to walk around or not that
Do you have a
big?
lab? Oh, here.
I don't know. I'll load it up.
Okay. I thought you loaded it up before.
Load it up.
The thing is downstairs then, after this talk. The Hamon is downstairs where the bar is.
That's good.
You ready to get started?
You could do an announcement. I don't know if this is working. How do I test? It's working. It's working.
After this panel, we're going downstairs to the bar, right? And we're going to do the Haman, which is ham.
On the ground floor, is it?
The ground floor.
It's a spitting J. Spit, I'm saying.
Come on. Come on. And you spit twice. Come on.
Hello guys. Great. I have a great session for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the three B's of developing domains. I know I'm now the last thing that stands between you guys and the Hamon. So
Come on.
So come on already.
This is getting heavy.
I'll try to make this very interesting and valuable for you guys. Cool. So today we're going to be talking about buying, building, and benefiting from your domain. I know in this conference this year, monetization has been a very big topic. So I think this session will help bring together a lot of the monetization sessions because we're going to talk about going everywhere from buying the domain from the beginning to actually developing it, making money from it, and selling it in the end. And I'm going to be going through the example I'm using is actually a real-life example, modified a little bit for privacy, but a real-life example from a client, so it'll give you some actual numbers and actual reference points of what you could accomplish from developing a domain. Cool. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about myself before I jump in, a little bit about my story. So for those who haven't met me, my name is Melen. I got involved in the computer space in the early 90s, which later became the internet space. And that's an actual picture of me in 1991. Those shorts were very popular at the time. I still think they're going to come back in fashion. So one of these days, when you see them on the Paris fashion show runways, you got to think of this picture. My family immigrated to the U.S. in 1991, and I was lucky and fortunate enough to get involved with computers and technology at that early age. And my family instilled in me a work ethic that has helped me through the last couple of decades in the businesses I've been involved in. Fast forward a couple of years, in 1997 I started T35 Hosting, which at the time was one of the first web hosting companies, one of the first free web hosting companies. To give you some context, this was a couple months before GeoCities got started, a couple of years before Google got started. And for those of you who've been involved in the space all the way back then, this is around the time where Yahoo was really resisting to becoming a search engine. They believed that the internet wouldn't be big enough to require someone to actually search for things. They were very set on their directory model, and they assumed that it would be enough to satisfy the growth of the internet. So the good old years. Back then, you could have gotten any domain you wanted, pretty much. T35 Hosting reached 1 million clients, and is still the brand still exists to this day. We celebrated the 21st anniversary of starting the business just a couple months ago. 2009, I with my brother started Backlink Build, which was at the time one of the first white label SEO services. And what that meant is that we provided SEO to a lot of the, not only small and medium-sized companies, but a lot of the Fortune 500 companies. If you guys think back, what is it, 9 years now? To 9 years ago, at the time, SEO was kind of a dirty word, and a lot of the big companies, Fortune 500 companies, didn't want to exactly get involved in it. So the white label service was one of the first of its kind. It was very successful because it allowed a lot of big companies to get involved with SEO without specifically saying, I'm doing SEO. So we provided SEO to other agencies who then sold it to big companies, and through that we got to work with a lot of really cool companies and got to do a lot of really cool things. Fast forward just 2 more years, and we started SmartSites, which was a combination of what we learned with Backlink Build, along with some of the other businesses and brands we were running at the time, combined it all into a full-service digital agency. So at SmartSites, we're literally full-service digital. We do anything digital you could think of, website design, development, marketing, SEO, pay-per-click, social media, anything digital we do. SmartSites has been in the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies in the US 2nd year now. We're in the top 250 privately held companies, and I, along with SmartSites, have been in a bunch of different publications for the things we've been doing in the company. Cool. So for today's session, as we jump into the actual session now, I hope to use all the experience I've had over the last, seems crazy to even say that number, but the last 27 years to give you guys some tips, tricks, and some things that you could be doing to develop your domains based on the things I've done in the last couple of decades, both developing my own domains, my own businesses, and now with SmartSites and Backlink Build before, having done it for thousands of other clients. Cool. Into the session. So today we're going to be talking about, obviously, buying, building, and benefiting from your domain. We're going to start off with buying your domain. So for this example, we're going to use awesomelawyers.com. So you can pretend that's a domain you guys just bought. You can think of it as maybe it already exists in your portfolio, or maybe you just picked it up. Either way, the scenario will carry through. And for this entire session, I'm going to be using real estate as a proxy for domains. I know you guys are all industry experts and are very familiar with domains, but for a lot of people, domains are very hard to visualize, to really understand, because they're so intangible. So when I talk about domains to clients, I usually try to associate with real estate, because if you think about it, domains are actually very similar to real estate and parallel in almost every single way manageable. So for this example, for this whole session, we're going to be using the whole real estate theme to help kind of visualize everything and keep us moving along. So here you are with awesomelawyers.com. There you are, you got a beautiful plot of land. So it's a new domain that you bought. It's not developed. It's literally just a plot of land. And of course, you're not just there by yourself. You bought your awesomelawyers.com on Awesome Street in Awesome City, USA. And of course, you have some neighbors. So you have lawyers.com to the side of you, also a beautiful property. But a property they've developed over the last couple of years, and it obviously has development and use on it and monetization, and it's worth a lot more than your plot of land next to it. On the other side, you have another neighbor. You have superlawyers.com, who also, similarly to you, has a domain that they bought at some time. And since then, they've developed it, they increased the value of it, and they make money from it. So through this session, we're going to talk about how you could kind of build up your domain to be like your neighbors and start making money from it and actually increase the value of your domain, because both lawyers.com and superlawyers.com are worth obviously millions of dollars, and there's no reason you couldn't be. Cool. So let's talk about the options you have with your domain. You just bought this domain, you're looking at it and you're thinking, what should I do with it? Three pretty obvious options, and the options you guys consider with your own domains every time you buy a domain, or even when you review your portfolio. Looking at your domains and you're thinking, what should I do with it? You could hold it, right? This is the hold. You have the spider webs. I don't know if you can see it, but that's the spider webs on it. It's just sitting there. So you can hold it. There's really no risk, no investment. You just hold it as a lot of you guys do with a lot of your domains. You hold it, you hope it appreciates in value, or the right buyer will come along. Historically, .com domains, similar to real estate, has been appreciating over the last couple years, decades. So it's a sound strategy. But as all the investment professionals will tell you, prior results don't guarantee future success. So we don't know if .coms will continue to appreciate in value. There's a lot of TLDs coming out now. There's a chance that maybe .coms will depreciate in value as the other TLDs gain prominence. So you definitely don't take a lot of risk in holding it. You also don't get a lot of reward. Kind of hold it and just hope that a buyer comes along or will appreciate it. You have option 2. You can lease or park it. So it's kind of it's a step above the hold where you do have to invest some either time, money, combination of both, but you do get some reward out of it. So you invest time, money, and then you get money from either you rent it out to a company, and that's very popular. You rent or lease the domains. Again, very similar to real estate. And you get monthly money from it. You're not going to get a lot, but at the same time, you haven't risked a lot. Or you could just park it. You could have, as others have discussed in the session, you could have, there's so many third-party services where you just park the domain and you make a couple dollars from it every month.
Why do you assume it's not going to be a lot?
From renting it out?
Yeah.
It could be a lot, but at the end of the day, if you buy it has to be less than you would make from building it out yourself, because that company has to afford to pay you for it, and also they're going to make money on it. They're not going to do it as a losing proposition.
Right.
Right. You could make some money, depending on the domain. You could make some money. So it's low risk, low reward. You're saying low risk, very high reward?
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially.
I mean, I've got a name that I lease out. It's $5,000 a month, and I've been getting it for over 5 years.
You could.
I do nothing.
You do nothing. It's definitely low risk.
So that's pretty lucrative, right?
It's pretty lucrative. But the idea is that if you develop it, spend more, obviously more risk, more investment, but at the end of the day, you would make more than the $5,000, both from the recurring revenue and
other
value.
stuff.
It's definitely a good solution, and it's surprising that a lot of people don't consider the leasing option at all. They just hold it. But it's definitely an option, and I've seen people do it more and more. And businesses are interested more and more because, especially startups, they don't have the money to come to you and buy it out for 200 grand. They'd rather pay you a couple thousand a month.
Right. That was my asking price, was
Yeah.
200, and they didn't want to spend that. So 5,000 a month
So
you could
it's-
afford.
No, they paid 300.
You're right. Now they're still paying.
It's not a solution for all domains. I think it's literally going through a portfolio and seeing what am I going to hold, what am I going to lease, and which one is it worth developing.
Yeah. Okay. I won't interrupt for at least 2 more minutes. Sorry.
Perfect. So today we'll go through the build development scenario. Maybe another time we'll go through the whole leasing, and then you'd have to be on stage talking, because leasing gets legally complicated.
I don't go up on stage. That's not what I do.
We'll turn the mics the other way. Cool, so we're going to talk about building, growing, developing. So that's a castle we're going to build on your new plot of land up there. So let's talk about cost, and this is very generalized. This is not even what my agency charges. This is a study that was done a couple years ago on the average cost of developing a website. For this example, we're going to assume it's just $10,000. You're not building an e-commerce platform. You're not selling any goods. It's not going to be super complicated. So you're going to develop your site. Once you develop it, we're going to talk a couple slides about actually marketing. So let's assume now you spend your 10 grand, you build your website. It's a great website. You have lots of information, lots of content. You have a great CMS system. Everything's perfect. But obviously no one is coming to it yet, because even if your site's up and even if Google indexes it without actually doing SEO and doing link building and doing a lot of stuff, you're not going to start ranking, you're not going to get traffic. So we'll briefly talk about the 3 pillars of marketing. I've done speaking sessions on each individual one of these that takes over an hour, so there's a lot of information, but I'll try to condense it down. I also speak quickly, which is good and bad. It's bad for the translators over there, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
giving them a hard time, but I'll do my best to slow it down just a little bit. Cool, pay-per-click. I'll go back and quickly talk about it before we jump in. So we have pay-per-click. So pay-per-click is the media exposure. Pay-per-click you could turn on today, you'll start getting clicks today. It's absolutely instant. It's a very, very, very powerful platform. but it's also could be it's very easy to lose money on it. If you run it with really not doing all the calculations and analysis, I've seen so many people lose a lot of money because it's has such reach. It has more reach than any other platform has in history. You could literally within a couple of minutes launch a campaign that reaches a big portion of the world. So it's instant exposure, but it definitely has to be done correctly. You have SEO, so SEO is search engine optimization. That's for long-term visibility. So you do work doing SEO on your site. It takes months and months, but over time it actually creates a lot of value because unlike pay-per-click, if you pay-per-click, you stop it, you stop getting the clicks, the visitors. With SEO, it's ongoing benefits. So you do it for a couple months, you won't see the ROI right away, but over time you'll rank higher in Google, and over months, years, you'll get huge value from it, and you don't have to pay for those clicks. And of course, you have social media, probably one of the newer digital mediums platforms. There's definitely opportunities to do advertising on it, which I would call pay-per-click, because even on Facebook, you bid for the clicks. But as its own, it's a great platform to share and engage. And the biggest power of social media is that it amplifies any message you try to send to your audience. So let's say you have an audience of only 1,000 people that follow you. Each one of those people have an audience of 1,000 as well. And you post something and even 10% of them share it, you now have a reach of tens of thousands, much more than your initial audience. So social media is definitely very powerful for sharing and engaging. So we'll have to go each one of them very briefly. Again, I'll try to strike a balance between the translation services keeping up and not being late for the hamon. I'm very numbers, formulas focused, so I'm going to try to break down all of these into formulas. So for the number of people in the room, this should be a lot of fun. Pay-per-click. So pay-per-click is a very, very simple formula. You have to calculate customer value. Number one, so many companies come to us, they just don't know the customer value. If you're an e-commerce site, it's literally how much your average basket size is. So someone buys from you on average $80 worth, and then what the lifetime amount that they're going to buy from you. So if someone buys $80 worth and you think they're going to buy from you 10 times, your customer value is $800. For non-e-commerce sites, it's a little trickier, but you could still count it backwards. You could take your overall revenue made from the site, divide it by the visitors. The point of this whole exercise is you want to figure out how much you're going to get from that one visitor going to your website. So if you know that visitor going to your website is going to cost you $1 you're going to get $1 lifetime value from that visitor coming to you. Maybe not right away, maybe because they're going to come back, but you're going to make $1 from that visitor. You know now in pay-per-click, if you pay less than $1, you're golden, right? And pay-per-click is so powerful because it's very scalable. So if you know you could get tons of visitors to your site for 90 cents per visitor, and you're going to make $1 from them lifetime, the arbitrage on those 10 cents is where you make all the money. And you scale it and you make, I've seen companies make a lot of money on it. It's literally an arbitrage. And of course there's the three most popular platforms are AdWords, Facebook, and Bing. But also important, there's a lot of secondary platforms, and it's all about your audience. If you know, for example, it's you're building a career website and it's really a lot of your audience is on LinkedIn, that's where you should be. So those three are obviously the biggest ones, but always keep in mind that there's other platforms, and advertising is still out there. And for those of you that are in the space, Yahoo Gemini is still in there. Yahoo, when they made the deal with Bing to sell all their search ads and sell everything, they excluded their mobile properties. So if, for example, some people in the room might use Yahoo Finance app on their cell phone to advertise on there, you don't advertise on Bing, you actually have to advertise in Yahoo Gemini. So there are lots of platforms out there, and there's definitely, once you know your customer value, it's very scalable and very powerful. SEO. So SEO is always a mystery box, where AdWords is very calculated and very data-driven. SEO, for some reason, a lot of people treat as a big mystery, and it's a little bit of a problem with the industry. A lot of agencies sell it as well, we can't tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do some magic, and then you guys start ranking higher. So a lot of it is a product of the industry, but it's not as complicated as it seems. So this kind of simplifies down the model a good amount, and obviously Google's model is a lot more complex than this, but still, even to this day, 80% of Google's algorithm is determined by this simple formula. So what does Google look at? They look at unique content, they look at relevant links, and technical errors on your website. And it's literally the formula of how much unique content you have, how much relevant links, minus the technical errors. So we have a lot of clients that come to us, and this is very useful for you guys from a domaining standpoint. Even if you're not developing the domain, this is useful to look at to see how valuable the domain is based on what the competitors are doing in the space. So people come to us, and for this example, it's lawyers. People come to us and say, I want to be #1 for lawyers.com. What is it going to take? And it's a question that usually they don't expect an answer to, but there is a very simple answer to it. Literally, you would Google it, you would see what comes up. So for example, lawyers.com comes up higher than findlaw.com. Hard to see on here, but why is that? And there's really there's third-party tools. Some of them are more advanced, you have to pay for, but a lot of them are free, where you could check how much unique content these sites have and how much unique links. And now relevant links are becoming more and more important over the last couple of years, of course, but you can see how much unique domains link to the site. So I would bet you that lawyers.com is higher up there because they have more unique content on their website and they have more unique domains linked to them. So it's very easy to spot and see if you want to be #1 for a certain keyword, you could see how those competitors are doing. For the domaining folks that don't want to develop their domain, just want to see how valuable it is, it's also a good spot check to see if the domains up there are spending a lot of money on this stuff. It's probably a valuable niche, valuable domain. Social media. So social media, I mentioned right before we jumped into these 3 pillars a little bit. It's followers times engagement, and both are very, very important. So if you think about it, if you have thousands of followers, but only one guy likes or shares your stuff, obviously you're not going to get lots of value from it. On the other side, if you have 10 followers and they're always liking your stuff, also not going to get value. So it's very important to have both the followers and the engagement. Yeah, you want to have a lot of people following you, and you want to have them sharing your content because that's how it multiplies out. And again, there's lots of social media platforms out there. I would say it's very hard unless you really have like a whole team managing it to be really good at all of them because they all require their own different kind of posts. Very hard to do the same post across the platform and be very engaging every single one. So sometimes it might make sense to pick the one you want to do and really focus on it. And aside from developing your domain and using it to make your domain more valuable, I've seen social media used more and more by domainers to actually sell their domain. So I just took this snapshot, a couple of months old. It's from NamesCon in Vegas. And it's kind of hard to see up there, but I've seen more and more people post their domains with like hashtag domain for sale and like industry-specific hashtags, and it helps buyers find you, and it helps. We had a client who bought a lot of domains for their site and then chose to go a different direction, and then he was like, I need to sell these. They were valuable domains he spent 6 figures on. And he would literally just post them on social media with hashtags, and he found a buyer for that paid over $50,000 for one of his domains, literally from Twitter. Who would think that like on Twitter, people don't realize that more and more business people use Twitter and use it for, Twitter is very powerful for discovery, as opposed to Facebook where they want to get into discovery and want to get into the stuff. For Facebook, it's still more like a news feed, you follow your friends and stuff. Twitter is very powerful for discovery, so you could post with the right hashtags and people could discover that your domain's for sale and you could wind up selling it, separate from this whole domain developing example we're going to do. Cool, so you have your domain, you're getting lots of traffic to it, so we're now up to the 3rd B, so we're at a good pace. You're getting lots of traffic to it. How do you monetize it? Again, this could be a presentation in itself, but just a quick snapshot. Google AdSense is very powerful. Picking the right ads and integrating them into the right place on your website has become a business in itself. It's almost a mix of art and science, where you want to make sure that ads aren't interfering with content and blend in and still make you money. So that in itself has become tricky, but that's Google AdSense is the biggest publisher network out there, not only internet, but probably spanning any kind of medium. And of course, you then have sponsored posts. Companies will pay you to write content for you that they publish on your site. So there's a lot of different ways to monetize. They'll bring you in the monthly revenue from your site that you're now sending traffic to and doing SEO and pay-per-click and social media to. So how does this all add up? So this is a third-party tool. This is a paid view of it, but there's other tools that will give you similar data for cheap or free. So what we're looking at is lawyers.com and how much value they created from developing their domain. So to take us back 20 minutes to when we started this exercise, literally you just bought a domain, awesomelawyers.com, and you're starting with zero. As did lawyers.com and some of the other legal websites. And when they chose to develop the domains, this is what they've gotten as value over the years. So I don't know how easy it is to see up there, but do you leave it for that? Ah, nice. So this is how many visitors they get from SEO. Literally organic visitors. They get over 200,000 visitors every single month without paying for it. Literally those come to them for free. So if you think about that, even if they make 10 cents from every visitor, that's already 20,000 a month that they're making. And they get much more monetization than that. On the other side of the bucket is the paid traffic. That's this bucket right over here. They're spending almost 200,000 a month on AdWords. Not AdWords plus Bing, plus LinkedIn, plus Facebook. Literally just AdWords. They're spending 200,000 a month. And I promise you they wouldn't be spending this if they weren't getting a return from it. So this is what they would get from developing the domain versus just leaving it, versus leasing it. Of course, it's not for every example. You're not going to develop every single domain and get huge value from it. But as it is today, obviously lawyers.com has the intrinsic value from the domain itself, and this kind of traffic levels adds millions and millions and millions and millions of value on top of the intrinsic value of just a domain. Cool, so we're going to wrap it up today with actually the numbers of our example, awesomelawyers.com. So whether, a little hard to see, but whether you got the domain for a couple of dollars or you spent $1,000 on it, you got it in a drop. Let's assume that the natural value of the domain is $10,000. It's a good domain. You could have sold it for just the $10,000. You could have leased it. This is the value you got from developing it. So actually making it into a website increased its value because now it has content, it has stuff on it. Even if the company who buys it wants to use it differently, the content adds value because it's in Google, it's in search, and you have the value of the SEO traffic. So that adds a lot of value because if someone buys a domain, even if they decide not to do anything with it for a year, they're getting all the organic traffic, they can put more ads on it, they can monetize it. So this is based on actually a real life scenario of how the value broke down. And we'll go quickly through a cash flow table. Again, being a numbers guy, this is how I see the world. So it might not be as useful for everyone, but that's the way I look at things. So you invested $10,000 in your domain. We started 8 slides ago. Let's say it took you 2 months. So month 2 you made nothing. And then let's say from the ads, from everything, you made $250 a month. Not a lot of money, right? And usually this kind of stuff, especially SEO, grows exponentially. It's not a linear growth. But for this example, to make it easier, let's just say every single month you just made $250 more. Very, very conservative numbers. So where does that put you? At month 11, you're making a little bit over $2,000 a month. Month 12, and again, this is to parallel with a client we had who did this. Month 12, you sell your domain for $50,000, and literally the $50,000 is from this over here, and that's what you wound up selling it for. So this is how you're looking for the year. This includes the $10,000 you invested in. So after a year, you wind up making $50,000 investing, including all the stuff you invested in it. So you have the recurring revenue throughout the year, and then you wind up selling it for more than what was worth because of the SEO traffic and the development. We're on time. Looking good?
We're at time.
So I'll open up for questions. I don't know how much time we have for questions. I could do questions at the Hamon station.
Come on.
You guys have this postcard in your bags. There's also a SmartSites light bulb stress ball if you get too stressed from this presentation. And smartsites.com/NamesCon if there's a quick video about SmartSites if you want to learn a little more. That's it. Thank you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Welcome. Muchas gracias. That's all my Spanish. Except for jamón.
Cerveza.
Oh. All right. So we're gonna go downstairs. Questions? Well, we were out of time.
So I'm here, oh, I still have the microphone on, nice. I'm here today and tomorrow, so grab me if you have any questions. I'll be at the Hamon station. We'll do.
And he'll talk about this all day long, so
I will.
he's happy to have, I know Alex, he's happy to talk about this stuff. So grab him at the ham station. Come on. Downstairs, we're gonna do it for 2 hours? We're back here at 6:30?
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, that's 45 minutes.
18:30, yeah, 45 minutes.
Okay, so we're gonna go jamón, I don't know why that is, for 45 minutes, and then we're gonna come back here for one more panel, and then the handoff, and there's gonna be music.
Party at 1 a.m.
1 a.m.
1 to 5.
If he shows up, is he awake? Anybody know?
Alex, I thought that was a great
Excellent.
presentation.
Okay, meet you downstairs for some decent hands.
Thank you.
And if you have time, then I'd like to talk with you about perhaps trying to private content for us or participating. I'm from DN Forum. I'm sort of trying to create an expert venue.
I'll give you my business card. I'm sure I'll catch you somewhere. Or when are you leaving?
Leaving tomorrow.
After the...
But otherwise, I'm just gonna send you an email.
Yeah, perfect.